Who is going to be champions of England for 2024? It promises to be an epic match at Twickenham in front of a sellout 82,000 crowd. Northampton Saints against Bath Rugby, two famous, storied rugby towns who have been starved of silverware in recent years. Northampton Saints last won the Premiership 10 years ago. Bath Rugby have never won the Premiership in its current guise, but in the amateur days, they were the dominant rugby club in the land, and they've got a chance to get back to those glory days. It should be really, really special. And having lived in both of these towns, I mentioned on the video the other day that, yeah, I lived in Bath. I went to university there, bought my first house there with my brother, lived there for a while. Amazing place, rugby mad. But I forgot, I also lived in Northampton for a bit, just under a year. Got my first ever radio job there, and I was living in Northampton. So I know how much rugby means. Those two towns are going to be completely empty of people. They're all going to be in Twickenham, or at the very least, they're going to be watching their TV screen. And I cannot wait for this matchup. My preview now on the channel. I'm Tim, this is Egg Chasers, and if you appreciate the rugby content, if you love the Premiership as much as I do, then give that video a thumbs up and drop your comment down below. Now, the first thing I want to say when I start on this video is I think it's really important to point out that 3 clubs have gone bust in the Premiership, and that has improved the quality across the board. But we should just remember on Saturday, London Irish, Worcester Warriors, and also Wasps, because it's such a shame what happened to them. And the reason I mention that now is I'm going to make a statement right now. Bath and Northampton do not reach this Premiership final without the players they were able to take on from Worcester, Wasps, London Irish. Such an impact has Curtis Langdon and Finn Smith in particular made at Northampton Saints. Such an impact has Ollie Lawrence, Alfie Barbary, Ted Hill made at Bath, that I don't think, bearing in mind how tight the semi-finals were, I don't think there's 2 teams that have benefited more from the players from those clubs that went bust than Northampton and Bath. And fair play, they've used those players which they've come by very effectively. But I just think it's worth just giving a little shout to those clubs and just reminding ourselves of what an absolute tragedy and travesty it is that they no longer exist. Anyway, moving on to the game itself and some stats for you. What about these? Just a few that I picked out. I was kind of trying to work out where will the big battlegrounds, where will the game be won and lost in this one. So points scored and tries scored. Northampton Saints near the top of the table. Bath kind of mid-table. That's always going to be important. Taking your chances when you get there. That's probably even more important, is just that red zone efficiency. And Northampton have been pretty ruthless on that front, because actually they play without the ball for quite a lot of the time. When you look at tackles made, Northampton Saints have made more tackles in the Premiership than any other team this season. And that isn't just the defensive energy that they've brought this year, which they definitely have. That speaks to the fact that they quite happily and readily play without the ball. And they've got the 3rd most kicks, which highlights that fact. They're going to give Bath the ball and try and squeeze them defensively. And for all the talk about Northampton's brilliant attack, they actually play without the ball quite a lot, maybe more than you would have thought. And in another stat, Bath have the 2nd best discipline in the Premiership in terms of penalties conceded. They've conceded the 2nd fewest. Northampton Saints have conceded the 2nd most penalties. And in a big cup match, when keeping the scoreboard ticking over, applying that scoreboard pressure 3, 6, 9, 12 could be important, I wonder how much that will be a factor. I actually think, for what it's worth, Northampton Saints, because they play without the ball so much and they attack the breakdown a lot, that's why the penalties conceded is slightly higher. And they're actually got really smart players around the breakdown who make good decisions, and quite often they've got themselves into a hefty lead and then can take chances. But I mean, as you'll see, it's almost too close to call this game. I'm going to, based on the teams that were picked, the 2 23-man squads from last weekend's semi-finals, I'm going to pick a combined team, and I'll go through shirt 1 to shirt 15. Tell me if you disagree. And with any of this, I'd love your comments down below. Like I say, this is the first preview video, but there will be more as the week goes on, as the teams get announced, as we get closer to the match at Twickenham. There'll be more videos coming, so your thoughts will be really valuable in the comments down below. Which one of Beno Obano or Alex Waller would you select? Both really good players. What a stage for Alex Waller to make his last play his last game for Northampton Saints, having been a try-scoring hero the last time they won the Premiership a decade ago. He's got a chance at a fairy tale ending for him. I would go with Beno Obano. Personally, tell me if you disagree. As for hooker, 2 solid hookers, but one has been standout this season. Curtis Langdon, Worcester Warriors. He's been all around the houses. Sale Sharks, London Irish. He was at Montpellier for a bit. He's found a home at Northampton Saints, and he's used that as a real springboard. Been such a destructive force on both sides of the ball, and surely he's going to tour with England this summer. Tight head prop, 2 very, very good players. I would not be surprised to see Trevor Davison in the England squad again, and I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see Thomas du Toit, giant man, turning out in the green and gold of South Africa once again. He is awesome, and I would take Thomas du Toit if I had to. Charlie Ewels and Alex Moon, 2 really workhorse locks that do so much unseen work for their team, hitting rucks and hitting people all day long. Charlie Ewels has had a fantastic season. I would pick him. Into the other second row partner, and Quinn Rue, been really solid for Bath. Alex Coles, though, has brought a little bit of stardust to the Premiership, and I would go with Alex Coles. You see how it flips and flops this? It's really finely poised. This is a battle that I cannot wait. Could this be, well, I'll tell you what, for Ted Hill, this is an opportunity to make a statement to Steve Borthwick up against one of the best blindside flankers in the world, playing some of his best rugby. He's had an injury-free season as Courtney Laws, and he's making hay while that's the case. His last game for Northampton Saints at Twickenham with a chance to win the Premiership. Ted Hill, though, a chance to go toe-to-toe with one of England's greats and show that he should be a big part of England's future. That said, obviously, I'm going with big courts. Open side flanker, Tom Pearson. Again, I thought he was going to maybe take the mantle of guys like Sam Underhill and press his case for international selection. It hasn't quite happened for him yet, but maybe a big performance at Twickenham HQ could get him into the England squad for the tour to Japan and New Zealand. Sam Underhill will be on that tour, and I would pick him if my life depended on it and I had to select now. This is a really tough one. Who would you go for out of Alfie Barbary and Joano Augustus? They are both guys that when they're hot, they are like unplayable as ball carriers, destructive. Alfie Barbary just has that knack of right place, right time. Joano Augustus could well be wearing the green and gold of South Africa again. With Jasper Wiese being suspended, they've got other options. I suspect probably he won't play. He might play. No, he can't. Will he be able to play against Wales? He might play against Wales. But he's been really good lately. I would actually go with Augustus, I think, if I had to pick. This has been the hardest one to pick out of the whole forward pack, because I could quite happily go Alfie Barbary, flip either way. As it is, when you look at the pack, split 50-50. 4 for Northampton Saints, 4 for Bath Rugby. It's going to be too close to call this one. You could argue maybe Bath have an edge scrummaging. 3 of the front 5 are there, and Northampton could have a little bit of advantage in the loose. I think Coles is quite a rangy runner, and Laws and Augustus, good carriers in tight as well. That could be how it goes. But then again, Northampton Saints weren't too bad at scrum time, and the bench that came on for them did a good job against Saracens. But that'll be an interesting one to watch. Into the back line, one of the key matchups in the game. Talked about the tactical kicking. Northampton Saints kick quite a lot. A lot of very, very good, intelligent kicking comes from Alex Mitchell, who is also a genuine running threat. Do you think he's got a little bit more stacked as well? It looks a bit bigger to me. He had a fantastic season. Ben Spencer too, but I would go with Alex Mitchell, who is playing some of his best rugby right now. Fly half, again, the 2 Finns, a bit of Finn sanity on the pitch at Twickenham, the young pretender, the £1 million superstar. I would go with Finn Russell, although I cannot wait to watch that battle. And I think everyone was thinking Marcus Smith is going to be the man that takes the England jersey. It could well be Smith, but Finn Smith is looking every time he plays more and more like an international star to be. This is a great matchup as well. Obviously, they'll be on opposite wings, but Will Muir started the season like a rocket. Ollie Slightholme, since he's come in and established himself, has been immense. 15 tries in 16 starts in the Premiership? I have to go with Ollie Slightholme on that form. In the midfield, again, 2 quite similar players. Good distributors, actually, for their size. Hard runners, and are a good foil for the fly halves. Fraser Dingwall will be touring with England. Cam Redpath with Scotland. I would go with Redpath if I had to, and particularly because he forms a great partnership with Ollie Lawrence, who I would select over Berger Rodendahl. Two powerful men who bring a direct edge to proceedings for their team. Tommy Freeman and Joe Thockner-Singer. I'd go Tommy Freeman every day. He's class. He's a bit of stardust. In games like this, it's guys like Tommy Freeman, like Alex Mitchell, like George Furbank that can make the difference. And behind the scrum, Northampton Saints have got some pretty special talents, notwithstanding the fact Bath are sat there with Russell, Redpath, Lawrence as their midfield axis. I would pick George Furbank over Matt Gallagher if they pick the same 15s, that is. And on the strength of that, as you can see, 4 Northampton Saints to 3 Bath players, meaning I've picked 8 Saints, 7 players from Bath. But it's interesting the way it shakes down, isn't it? You've got a unit of Bath players through the midfield, 10, 12, 13. And you've got the whole back 3 for Northampton Saints, another unit. So it's fascinating when you look at it like that. Finals tend to tighten up a little bit. The ball tends to go to the air a little bit more because, I don't know, it gets a little bit more tense. So the back 3 under the high ball and counter-attacking options, Northampton Saints are great at that. If Finn Russell can kick really well, and he can be sublime, he was a bit loose, I thought, with his kicking on Saturday just gone against Sale, and him and Ben Spencer will need to be better at that. And that's where I keep going back to, that you've got the midfield axis of Bath, you've got the back 3 of Northampton. As good as Ben Spencer is, and he is outstanding, Alex Mitchell just feels like the difference to me. But let's have a look at the bench as well. I'm giving Northampton the edge just on the starting 15. I think Northampton Saints have got a bit more on the bench than Bath. I mean, I've put Tom James there. Well, he should be further down because he's a scrum half. Anyway, that's. But I put Tom James as a scrum half replacement over Louis Schroeder. But honestly, neither of them are going to get on the pitch, to be honest. So we may as well just talk about the other ones. Front row, Will Stewart is a fantastic tight head to bring on. But I think I'd prefer Matavesi and Iogan. I'd prefer Elliot Stuke to forget who the Northampton replacement second row. But I've gone for Elliot Stuke. But Graham, Ludlam, and then Hendy in the back 3 as well. Power and dynamism off the bench for Northampton Saints. So I think I'm edging Northampton Saints. I'll wait and I'll see the teams. We'll wait and see what the weather forecast is doing for Twickenham. And I don't know whether there's going to be more blue, black and white or more green, yellow and black in Twickenham Stadium. I think it'll be pretty 50-50 because these two sets of fans have been starved of days like this and they've now got the opportunity. They are not going to waste it. It's going to be ace. I'm going for Northampton as it stands, but more videos to come on the channel as we build up to the final. Let me know what you think and I will see you on the next one.